Okay. I think I am live. Let me go ahead and check everywhere. Welcome, everybody. If you are here, welcome everybody to the channel. If you all can hear me, feel free to throw something in the chat. Let me throw this up here. If you can hear me, put a 1 in the chat. Put a 1 in the chat. Let me see. I'm looking for something to bring this mic closer to me. If you can hear me, put a 1 in the chat. Happy to be here with everybody today. Let's see. Where are my things? Oh, hold up. Can you all hear me? Okay, Wired Dog is here. Welcome, Wired Dog. Welcome to the chat. I was looking for these headphones. Welcome to the chat. Happy for you all to be here. I'm just kind of getting myself together here. Put a 1 in the chat if you can hear me. Let me see. Do the audio. My audio come. Okay, through the headphones. That's perfect. Let me put this mic closer to me so you all can hear me a little bit more. Okay. Okay, perfect. Octavius is here. Welcome. Wired Dog say you can hear and salute. Keep It Techie say he got the alert today. Perfect. I'm happy that those are coming through. And thank you all for coming through. Let's give everybody a little hand clap just for being here. Welcome. I can hear me. Welcome to the chat. Just kind of dealing with everything here, trying to get my light and everything together. Happy Wednesday. So today is a hump day, right? Today is the day that, we're getting closer and closer to that weekend grind, that weekend payoff. A lot of people. It's been an eventful week. A lot has been going on, but just happy to be here with you all today. But let me go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and play the intro video, and then I'm going to introduce the topic of cybersecurity in business, or the business of cybersecurity. Let's have a conversation here. Welcome everybody to Struggle Security, where we are normalizing struggling in cybersecurity. And today, as you see scrolling across the bottom of your screen, we're going to be talking about cybersecurity in business, or the business of cybersecurity. Now, just thinking about this, and welcome Justin Williams. Thank you for coming through, man. You get one of these. And as you are thinking about the business of cybersecurity, it can be, many times we can think of like the technical things. We can think of like the penetration testing, the ethical hackers. We can think about, let's see what else. We can think about like the incident response stuff. But do we a lot of times think about business? What is the business case for this? Why is anybody being hired for these type of roles? And that's kind of what I want to have a little bit of a discussion here today about. And Ty says, "Hey, Gabe, I've been wrestling with stop learning hacking. Your thoughts?" I would say just apply, man. I know the last time that we had a conversation, we were talking about just applying to a lot of roles. I think that you have the background, you have certifications, you have the hands-on skills to get a role within ethical hacking. But at the same time, I think that when we talked, you were saying that you had only applied to a couple of roles and you had gotten some traction with several of them, right? Which is great. But it's like the more roles and the more things that you apply to, the better chances there are for you to be able to land a role. So I think that I would say keep on applying. Like apply. Even the things that might be a little bit less of your experience. I know that a lot of people would apply to a role that might be maybe one level or one step below. Somebody might be security engineer that might apply to security analyst type of roles. I would say just keep on applying. And I know, based upon what you told me in the conversations that we've had about your experience, I don't think that anybody would be like let up not hiring you going forward. So I would just say keep on applying, man, for sure. Matthew, welcome, Matthew. Wilton, welcome. Gerald, you said you got the alert. Okay, that's dope. Okay, people are starting to get the alerts, which is awesome. Thank you for coming through. So, kind of back to the subject of cybersecurity in business. And I think that those are two things that aren't talked about a lot. I mean, just doing the overall like YouTube search or Google search, I see a lot of hits for things like automation in cybersecurity or artificial intelligence in cybersecurity or machine learning or ethical hacking and penetration testing. But you don't ever see a lot of the business associated with it. And I think that that's part of the discussion that I want to have today. And I want to kind of start to preface it. And it's so interesting because kind of what I've learned in my experience is that I've been able to remain employed because the bad guys are doing what the bad guys are doing in the cyber world. Does that make sense? I'm employed because the hackers are hacking. I'm employed because the bad guys are hacking everybody's systems, getting into their environments and causing havoc, causing them to lose sensitive data, causing operations to be able to be withheld, causing organizations to lose trust with their customers. I'm employed, gainfully employed, because the bad guys are active. And that's just such an interesting kind of thing that I had to come to grips with, because I mean, that's the reason why I'm here. I mean, let me show you something. Let me show you all something. I want to, for you all, actually, let's start off with something. I want to kind of go into one of the things here. You said you got the alert, and welcome, Def Racer. Always welcome over here. Thank you for coming through. You get one of these. Thank you for coming through. You're always welcome here, man. Let's start off by speaking about, so like I mentioned, because the bad guys hack and they're doing the bad things, a lot of times that's when a lot of job roles are opening. That's when a lot of organizations are realizing that they have to apply cybersecurity into their environments. Let's talk about Uber, because this happened, I think a couple of years ago, or was it last year, I think. And I have something that I want us to watch, which speaks about this Uber hack. Let me go ahead and share the screen with you all, and then we'll get into some conversation about it. Let me present, share. Not the window, but this. Okay, screen one. I think you all should. Well, actually, let me see. Let me make sure that you all are able to hear the audio. No, you wouldn't be able to hear the audio there. Let's see. Screen. I want to make sure that you all are able to get this. Is what I need to show. There we go. Listen. I'm still learning. Let's go ahead and get into it. This is about the Uber hack, and then we're going to talk more about the business aspects of what came from this. Let's go ahead and look at this.
A story that is literally breaking as we speak. We are learning right now that Uber is suffering a computer system hack. Uber has been hacked. The rideshare company confirmed on Twitter that they are in touch with law enforcement, and there are screenshots floating around of what that hacker has claimed to do. For more on what's happening with the largest rideshare company in the world, we're being joined right now by Sam Curry, joining us live on the program. Sam, thanks so much for being with us. You are a bug bounty hunter and staff security engineer. Sam, what can you tell us about this cybersecurity incident? That's what Uber is calling it at this hour. Do some of the hallmarks of this hack look familiar to you?
Yeah, they definitely do. So I'm a bug bounty hunter, and I've been very active on like the Uber's bug bounty program. And all of a sudden, I got like an email notification that somebody had commented on the report that I'd submitted a few years ago, and they basically commented that, hey, I've hacked this HackerOne account, the HackerOne account of like an Uber employee, and they basically just said like, hey, we've completely compromised Uber, please get in touch. And immediately after that, we sent like a message to them to get in touch with the person who had supposedly compromised like the Uber account, and they basically showed us proof that they were able to access like everything for Uber. So at that point, I tweeted about it and kind of shared a little bit more about that.
Okay, that's a good pausing point here to say hello to some people that just came in. Gonzo, welcome. Alonzo, welcome. He says here. For people who just come in, thank you for being here on the stream, and I'm just very happy. Thank you for coming through. But some things have come in here, right? Uber, the very popular ride-sharing application, ride-sharing organization. Back then, I think it was a startup. It might still be no, I think it's publicly traded now. I believe so. I could be wrong, but this organization had suffered a computer system hack, right? And it was discovered, or some individuals saw it when they were part of these bug bounty programs, because Uber has a bug bounty program where they put out a program for people who are ethical hackers to say, hey, if you got into the environment, we're going to give you money in order to continue to show us what our vulnerabilities are before the bad guys find it. Well, in this case, the bad guys got to Uber's infrastructure before the good guys did. So they're kind of explaining this a little bit here. But like it mentions, right, what does this do, right, to the psyche or to the mentality of the consumer? For those who utilize Uber on a regular basis, don't you think that that would cause some type of distress to some level? Might make you feel like, hey, if the bad guys are able to get in here, what could they do to my Uber account? So it can be a reputational damage to that organization, because, hey, we have also other competitors. We have Lyft that's out there. We have Uber. We have other ride-sharing applications. And the thing about it is that if I'm going to choose between company A that didn't get hacked and company B that did get hacked, I'm choosing company A, right? So this can cause big issues for the business of Uber, because it can cause their stock prices to drop if they're publicly traded. It can also cause investors to lose confidence in the organization's ability to secure their own infrastructure. So this is all kind of surrounding the what you call like the business of cybersecurity. The business of cybersecurity. Let's keep on going to understand more about this. Let's go ahead and absolutely, Wire Dog. Just like you said, damage to reputation. Damage to reputation in the midst of competition is, it's bad, right? Because if you're competing and you know that your competitor has something or has a better reputation than you, then you're just like it is with like airlines, right? I think Spirit Airline versus Delta. Spirit Airline is known for, cheap flights, cheap and quick flights, but they are not known for their customer service. They're not known for their ability to deal with large amounts of individuals booking flights. They'll just cancel a flight just like that with Spirit. But then Delta is known to kind of reroute you to different places and really have that customer service feel. It's almost like quality versus bad quality. So that reputation in the midst of a hack is also something that should be considered when we're talking about the business of cybersecurity or cybersecurity business. Let's keep on going and take a look at this.
Okay, Sam, you're going to have to fill us in. What does a bug bounty hunter do?
Yeah, sure. So a bug bounty hunter basically works as a contractor for like a company like Uber. And what we'll do is we'll submit one-off security vulnerabilities. So for instance, if I find a way to compromise user information on Uber, I'll just report that to their bug bounty program and they'll pay like a one-time payment to me.
Okay, so right now though, what would your message be to Uber employees? Or like myself, I use Uber all the time. I'm a Uber customer. Should I be concerned about this? Where's my information right now?
Yeah, I think there's definitely a reasonably well to be concerned about it, because right now it appears from a general perspective, normally your data is going to be stored in like Amazon Web Services or Google or GCP, and it appears the attacker has access to both of those services. Wow. So I'd be concerned that your data may be like accessed by this hacker.
Okay, so you are contracted out to Uber, correct? Are you confident in their abilities to get this under control?
Yeah, I really can't speak too much on their behalf, but what it appeared was, the attacker had like a lot of access, and from that point, like the data is already retrieved, so it's hard to say.
Okay, I want to put up a tweet that you tweeted earlier tonight. You said someone hacked an Uber employee's HackerOne account and is commenting on all of the tickets. They likely have access to all of the Uber HackerOne reports. Help us decipher that. And then you said the attacker is claiming to have completely compromised Uber, showing screenshots where they're full admin on AWS and GCP.
Interesting, right? Interesting. Let's contextualize this a bit. And again, welcome to Professor Black Ops. He says top bug bounty guys have $1 million a year. They're making $1 million a year from finding bugs in large organizations. He also says salute to Gabe in the chat. Welcome, Professor Black Ops. Thank you for coming through. Get one of these. Thank you for coming through. And as you can see here, it says the attacker claimed to have completely compromised Uber, showing screenshots where they have full administrator access to their Amazon Web Service accounts and their Google Cloud, cloud platform accounts. This is cloud infrastructure, right? So Uber apparently has AWS and GCP cloud infrastructure, and it looked like they were able to gain access to all of those services. And that's something that can be very damaging to an organization. When the bad guys get into your internal systems, your cloud instances, your internal infrastructure, it becomes very dangerous to even operate, to continue to operate. Many organizations might stop regular operations until the issue can be resolved. So that's something there that messes up with their business. And you have individuals this is a tweet, right? Have individuals who are tweeting and are saying what's actually going on. The cybersecurity community is very communicative. We speak a lot, and a lot of times when you'll find the most latest and greatest information is on Twitter. InfoSec Twitter is just always buzzing. If somebody gets hacked, that'll probably be the first place where you'll know that they got hacked at. So Twitter is a very interesting place, very good place for information sharing, and the place where you know when somebody has gotten hacked or not. Let's go back to it. Let's go back to the video. We're almost done here.
Yeah, absolutely. So the first tweet that I did was basically just sharing that like they've accessed an Uber employee's HackerOne account. And HackerOne is basically a platform for people like me to submit security vulnerabilities to companies like Uber. So since they're able to compromise that account, that means the attacker had access to all of their security reports on their HackerOne program. So basically, like right off the bat, it's really, really bad. But the second tweet, after we were able to get in touch with the hacker, they basically told us that they had compromised the entire AWS and the entire GCP instance. And what those are basically like hosting services, right? So instead of Uber having their own computers, they go to a company like AWS, where AWS will host the computers and all of the data for Uber. So since they're able to log into that, they're basically able to access like all of the data for Uber. Allegedly, what they've said in like their Telegram messages.
Wow.
Okay, so is it your understanding if you were to try to get an Uber ride right now, you would have issues? Do you think what's going on? Or is this just internal with employees themselves? And from some of the posts on social media from Uber employees, this is really unsavory stuff that is being posted. Have you seen that?
Yeah, absolutely. It appears like the attacker is just causing like a lot of chaos. They haven't really established like an intent. They're not necessarily trying to like sell the data. Or they really haven't said what they're trying to do. I think we could open up the Uber app and be completely fine, but I think the part that's really going to be not good is like a month or 2 months from now when, the attacker, if they decide to release the data, or, if the attacker at any point decides to like start causing chaos, they could basically, stop running services where the Uber app may potentially stop working.
Okay, Sam, you have been speaking to Uber employees. I just want to put up this other tweet that you had from an Uber employee who texted you this, I believe. They said, feel free to share, but please don't credit me. They said at Uber, we got an urgent all caps email from IT security saying to stop using Slack, and that Uber employees told you that now anytime they request a website, they're taken to a redacted page with a pornographic image, and the message says, F you wankers. So clearly there's a lot of, hilarity, ridiculousness, by whoever did this, but it is causing a lot of problems. We're in the early stages of this. This story is literally breaking as we speak, Sam, but when do you think Uber's going to get this under control?
It may take, a week, 2 weeks, or sometimes even up to a month, depending on like what they've done. Because if the attacker has been in there for a while, they could have backdoored services or compromised other things, and it will take a long time for Uber to completely verify that the attacker.
Yeah. It'd be like that. Like, look at this. This was Uber. Every time that they went to them accounts, Uber was like, listen, yeah. I can't even do my work.
Kind of struggling a little bit.
Yeah, they couldn't get to anything. They got a message that said, F you wankers. Those hackers were cyber stepping. They were cyber stepping. They were cyber stepping on Uber employees. And for those who don't know how Slack accounts work, many organizations utilize Slack in order for their internal organizations and internal groups, especially technical groups, to be able to communicate. So anytime that these IT employees and IT security employees will go to the Slack account and they will click on different links, those links will be would redirect to this, like I said, pornographic page and said "F you wankers." Sheesh, they was listen. That's called cyberstepping. I gotta find something to do that. I gotta find something to kind of represent cyberstepping and what the bad guys are able to do. Atonement, welcome. Death Racer, yeah, UK very, very possibly. Matthew said this is proof that they need to beef up the IT infra. This gets right into the conversation, doesn't it? Of beefing up the cybersecurity staff. We're gonna get into that. We're gonna definitely get into that. Wired Dog says redirected to troll pages. I know they was, like I said, they were cyberstepping. Uber going to outsource it to one of the big dogs. A lot of times that is what organizations do. They might outsource their cybersecurity capabilities to a large organization because they can't handle it themselves. That's all very possible. But for the people who just came into the building, welcome. I'm going to clap it up for you for being here. Thank you for coming through. We really appreciate it. So, all this was happening. We just got a couple of more seconds of this left. Let's just finish it off, and then we'll get more into the conversation.
The attacker no longer has access and figure out like what data has been leaked.
Okay, I guess we'll just keep following this. What's your role going to be in this? Obviously, a lot of Uber employees are reaching out to you. You're going to monitor as well. You're in this community. Any idea who did this?
I have no real clue, and it's really hard to say because, in a lot of the hacks you see, they'll immediately like demand money or they'll kind of like have a purpose, right? But this attacker really hasn't done that. So it's really hard to say like who the attacker is.
All right. Sam Curry, thank you for your time tonight. We'll stay on top of this story here on Live Now. Maybe we'll speak again. Thanks.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks so much.
Okay, and that's that. Uber got hacked, right? Their infrastructure got messed up. And what's interesting is this is what I want to show you. This is the other thing that I want to show you because not too long after that hack, this had happened on LinkedIn. People, again, Twitter, LinkedIn, everybody's always posting, but take a look at this. Take a look at this. What do you see here? So this gentleman, I think this is initially from Twitter, but I think he posted it here on Instagram. But he says that there is a famous saying that an organization's budget for cybersecurity increases only after an incident. Uber just proved it. So this wasn't too long after the Uber hack, and look what happened. A senior security engineer, application security, they posted that. Senior security engineer, enterprise security. Senior security engineer, enterprise security. Senior threat detection engineer, security engineer. Senior security engineer, investigations. We're seeing 3 to 4 different unique roles that had opened up as a result of this Uber hack. And just like he mentions here, just like this individual mentions here, only after an incident, those budgets open up. That money, listen, those CIOs, CTOs, CISOs, let me tell you, that budget open way up as soon as they get hacked because they know that hacks affect their business bottom line. That affects their business bottom line. And just like Matthew said, if I were going for cybersecurity role, I ask for double my salary. And that's another thing, right? That has also driven up salaries of cybersecurity professionals. I mean, back then, many cybersecurity professionals were many of them were like network administrators or some type of admin. So their salaries more went towards like the more senior level help desk professionals. Until there were like SOCs, until there were like security specific dedicated employees, then a lot of the salaries started to jump up. I mean, people, last time we had, like I did a stream a couple of days ago and it went over all of those cybersecurity salaries that were thrown out there. This 4, 5, 6 years ago didn't even exist. So, a lot of these budgets are opening up as a result of these hacks. And that's one of the points after the hack. I mean, yeah, absolutely. Definitely after the hack. And that's one of the points that I want to bring up here is that what happens is that those cybersecurity budgets, the business of cybersecurity, a lot of times is surrounded by the impending ability for the bad guys to get in. Deeski, welcome, man. You said welcome in. Welcome to the chat. Yeah, because that happens a lot of times. So this kind of begs the question as well, right? How about so when we start to look at cybersecurity and a lot of the roles that are there in the business of cybersecurity, and we know that one of the elements is that of like when companies get hacked, that really, for those who are early in their career, people who are trying to transition into cybersecurity, it becomes very important to understand where you are within that business. How valuable is your security role within that business? What are you doing? Many times I've heard people online say that they're the cybersecurity expert, or they've been working in the field for 15, 20, 30 years or something. Not to say it's anything wrong with that, but a lot of times it does lack a little bit of context. Like, where are you within that? I know when I've spoken to Professor Black Ops, he speaks about defense contracting. Defense contracting, there's not almost, there is budget that the US government gives to certain organizations in order to fund different cybersecurity services and cybersecurity things for different organizations. So we know that a lot of that money, a lot of that budget is there. He's even spoken about that of dealing with RFIs or RFPs, like requests for proposals or requests for information, where it's like organizations are putting out proposals, or the US government in his case is putting out proposals and saying, hey, we need somebody to come in here and be able to fulfill this cybersecurity business need, because the business driver there is specifically compliance and regulations. Or government facilities and government organizations need to be at a certain compliance level for their cybersecurity or the digital infrastructure in order for them to even operate. The US government does not just put something online and just throw it out there and say, hey, we're just gonna do the best effort, the best bet for going ahead and operating this type of equipment. But they need to go through a compliance process in order to be able to even operate. And that aligns with money, right? That aligns with money. Again, organizations are coming in there and they're trying to get or try to submit for these proposals in order to get paid to do those cybersecurity services. So again, it asks the question of where are you within the ecosystem of cybersecurity business? And I think that sometimes another thing when we're talking about different roles, one thing that can be very sexy and very attractive is that of penetration testing. I mean, there are a million different roles about penetration testing, a million different roles about not roles, but different videos on YouTube and on the internet, how to get into cybersecurity, people starting off in penetration testing. I know that me and Ty had many conversations about that. But the thing about it is that there is much more of a need and a demand for defensive or blue team type of roles within cybersecurity than there are of offensive roles like penetration testing. So because being able to defend against the bad guys is way more valuable to organizations than being able to find all the bad stuff. Not to say that it's invaluable, right? Penetration testing is definitely valuable. But if you're trying to weigh them, if you're trying to find a path within cybersecurity, it's best to get into the roles that align with what's closer to the business need and closer to where the money is for the organization. Let's see. This is why the sector has good job security. It definitely has good job security. Definitely has good job security. I want to go into another example of another hack. Let's see. We can get into ethical hacking. Let's talk a little bit more about that and what that really looks like. Actually, no. Let's go into what it looks like in defending against some of these cybersecurity attacks. And I want to kind of bring up a little bit of a ATO, authorization to operate. Absolutely. I want to bring up what you call like an attack life cycle. Let me go ahead and show you all this. And because this might give you a better understanding of how the bad guys are getting in and where you might exist within this whole ecosystem of the cybersecurity business, and why it's kind of important. And this just gives one example of how the bad guys are getting in. This right here is what you call like the attack life cycle. The attack life cycle. And let me go ahead and just start from the left side and kind of explaining a little bit, like bit by bit, because this is important to really kind of understand how the bad guys are getting in, defending against the bad guys, and really understand where that demand is in cybersecurity. That's why I kind of want to bring this up. So here they give some examples of what each one of these stages are, but it kind of just goes from the initial compromise, how the bad guys get in, establishing a foothold, which is pretty much like what systems are they compromising in order to stay in the environment. Then they want to maintain presence, move laterally, internal reconnaissance, escalate privileges, and then complete whatever mission that they have. So typically, this initial compromise, a lot of times for organization, it comes in the form of like a phishing attack, then sending out like a phishing email of sorts, and being able to compromise somebody's computer. Where this can be a help desk admin, this can be a person that is in the IT department or HR department. That initial that phishing email gives someone some type of access, or a bad guy to access inside of the company network. Then next, they establish a foothold. This might include searching around the environment and dropping different malware in order to get other users inside the organization compromised. You're establishing also maybe even backdoors where, hey, say for instance, you lost this initial compromise from the first organization or first person that you hacked. You might go into the situation where you're like, I need to spread out my attacks, and this is in malware that might go all over the organization. This might even look like ransomware. Many times ransomware looks like getting onto one system with the phishing email and going everywhere around the whole organization and start to encrypt things. And these are some tools and methods that organizations use, really tools that they use in order to continue to establish that foothold. Then you can do a combination of any of these four. Maintaining presence, right? That can, again, go with backdooring, using some of these tools to do that. I don't see Cobalt Strike. That's something else. Meterpreter shells, Metasploit. These are all very common, even using communication protocols like RDP, Remote Desktop Protocol. These are very common to use when they're maintaining presence and moving laterally, going from system to system to system. You might start in having a Meterpreter shell on one machine, and then that machine, you can act as that machine and compromise another machine, and then compromise another machine. Or you can send a phishing email for someone else's account and just keep on going around and around, compromising as much as you can until you have the entirety of the system compromised. And like it says, Mimikatz is able to, that's another tool that's used to dump credentials from compromised machines. Some of these I don't recognize, but even basic things like PowerShell, utilizing the native commands within PowerShell in order to keep on moving internally to understand and map out the environment and then escalate privileges. So once you get on a machine, how are you able to escalate going from a regular user to system, or system to domain admin, right? These are things that, or not domain admin, but system admin. These are things that you want to try to do. And also, anytime you get on a machine, this is one thing that you want to do, is to understand what domain rights that you have on that machine. Because you can, or have within the network and the overall domain, right? So you want to really, if you own the whole system or own the whole network, and this is more specific to Active Directory, you can be domain admin in many cybersecurity or many penetration testing activities. The goal is to get complete access or complete the highest level of privileges within a Active Directory instance, and that is in domain admin. So you got a lot of this going on here. Let's see what else. Ty, you guys are having a conversation there. Salute PBO. Yeah, PS exec is also commonly used. Those are some of those Windows internals, right? Those Windows internal. And again, completing the mission. Are you gonna take data? Are you gonna do a data dump from the systems that you compromise? You take user accounts. You can even use different tools, and you can use, you could definitely use different tools in order to try to find things on machines like passwords. You can find different medical records. You can find social security numbers. You can find user access. You can compromise systems. And even in the case of Uber, they were able to even compromise the Slack accounts and start to modify things there. You can drop all types of malware where unsuspecting internal employees might click on things and they might continuously move around that network as they're getting compromised. So that's a little bit of what you call like the attack life cycle. Starts there from initial compromise, establish a foothold, maintain presence, move laterally, escalate privileges, internal reconnaissance, and then completing that mission. I know that was a lot, but a lot of this, I wanted to explain this because a lot of this stuff is what organizations need people to defend against. You need to defend against initial compromises in the form of maybe phishing phishing email filters, or utilizing tools or being able to configure tools in order to really find the malicious those type of malicious emails that are coming into your organization. Establishing footholds. One thing that's very important I've done several penetration tests where when I've come into environments, I've been able to compromise the machine and automatically have local admin access with that person's credentials. One thing that there is that doing a separation of privileges, lowering your ability or lowering a user's ability to go to system or local admin on machines is very important. That results in hardening those systems, hardening those devices, putting all types of security controls where even if someone does have access into the environment or onto a machine, they can't do much because they have a lower level of privileges, right? And that's that escalating privileges, being able to detect some of these things and putting all types of filters and all types of security controls in the defense of these systems, in defense of these environments. And hopefully that's kind of making sense. Hopefully that's kind of making sense there. Yeah, Wired Dog says, yeah, definitely. Many times users are local admins already. Yes, in many cases they are local admins. And with local admin access, you can execute all types of programs on that machine. With lower types of access, then you're really not able to execute programs, bring in different software. That's another thing, like blacklisting and whitelisting different applications within your environment. So you need some application security engineers in order to do this. And just like Wired Dog is saying, principle of least privilege. I know we got into a lot of detail there, but I really wanted to amplify and really illuminate the fact that defenders are way more important to the business of cybersecurity than offensive people, than people that's trying to find all the hacks. Let's go into another example of where things can get even worse and things can affect the business of cybersecurity even more. Let's take a look at this. And it is, let me find this. I'm going to pull up this link. Any questions or concerns, feel free to throw them in the chat. I know we've been rocking out for a minute, but let's go ahead and look at this next one. And I want you guys to take a look at this. And then this even gets even more into the business of cybersecurity. And again, towards another one of these hacks that had occurred. I really like this video, how it has outlined it. Let's go ahead here, and boom. And we're going to maximize this for your viewing pleasure, and boom.
America is facing a national energy crisis. On May 7th, 2021, one of the largest refined fuel pipelines in the United States, the Colonial Pipeline, experienced a cyber attack that shut down fuel delivery between the Gulf Coast and the East Coast. The pipeline itself spans almost 5,500 miles and carries millions of gallons of fuel per day. It was the target of ransomware, a scheme where attackers seize control of the computer systems using code and then demand money to release the systems back to the company. The FBI blamed the attack on a group called DarkSide. The following Monday, the company managed to take certain systems offline to contain the threat and planned to restore service by the end of the week.
Mm-hmm.
The Colonial Pipeline is vital for several airports along the eastern seaboard of the U.S., in addition to military bases throughout the Southeast. In the aftermath of the attack, panic buying, spurred by fears of fuel shortages and a rise in gas prices, left several gas stations with long lines as people hoarded gasoline. The attack itself exposed how vulnerable the U.S. energy infrastructure is. How did we get here?
That's a good place to pause, right? We see what has happened here, right? The Colonial Pipeline was a huge incident that happened that caused all types of shockwaves across the business of Colonial Pipeline. They pretty much were moving fuel from place to place. And as a result of this hack, that stopped a lot of their operations. As they said, it had that ransomware caused them to have to shut down a particular portion of their infrastructure. So that means that business operations had to halt as a result of bad guys, hackers getting in their systems with ransomware. Like I mentioned, it said DarkSide was the ones. And one thing about it is that they requested $5 million in order to give them back their access to their systems. $5 million. Now, $5 million is a hit to your bottom line. That is a hit to your business bottom line. That is very important. Now, not to say that Colonial Pipeline doesn't have deep pockets, because we found out later that they were actually able to pay that ransom, and they did pay the ransom. But the thing about it is that who wants to lose $5 million to bad guys? And, really, even if you send that $5 million, who's to say that they'll release your files? Because ransomware encrypts all of your files. making you unable to access your systems. Now, when you're in an environment where certain information and data is critical, where you're in safety systems and environments where there is safety involved with workers, you don't want malware just running around in your environment where there can be elevated heating environments like temperature, where if the bad guys get into some type of temperature system and modify that, it can cause people to lose their lives and get hurt. So when you talk about critical business and critical business concerns, ransomware and hackers can really affect that. So talking about the bottom line and the foundation of a lot of the business of cybersecurity, this is one of them here. Yusuf said, rumor has it that they don't have to turn off that many machines and can continue operating partly. Is that the case? BCP stuff. Well, no, it's not the case. So one thing that's been happening over several of like a lot of years is that many organizations are starting to digitize their environments. Not only is that happening within like enterprise IT, but even industrial environments like oil and gas here for like Colonial Pipeline. So a lot of their infrastructure was rooted in digital infrastructure like routers and switches and network connections and internet connectivity. So when you say you can turn off some of it and continue operating partly, there's so many dependencies within organizations, digital dependencies, that it makes it very difficult to operate safely, securely, efficiently without having access to those digital systems. So that kind of went into some of that decision-making process of them saying, hey, do I want to continue to operate, or do I want to go ahead and shut down things until we know that the bad guys are out? Very good question. But yeah, hopefully that answered it. If you have a follow-up, feel free. Wardog said the hack got DarkSide a lot of heat afterwards. They allegedly shut down a ransomware. Yeah, that's exactly what DarkSide was. DarkSide was a ransomware as a service type of thing. So ransomware is something that has been increasing in utilization, usage over maybe the last 3 or 4 years now. Ransomware has been the biggest thing, where pretty much you send malware, the bad guy sends malware into organization's environment. That ransomware encrypts everything, which makes it unable to be accessed by the people who work for that organization. And then they say, hey, if you want it back, you got to pay a certain amount of money. You got to pay us some moolah. You got to pay us some cash. And they may pay the cash, they may not pay the cash. But paying the cash is the business model. The money, so not only is that the business of cybersecurity, ransomware was also a business of cybersecurity. So like WireDog mentioned, it got DarkSide a lot of heat, where the FBI and CIA and government organizations all around the world started to investigate more and more who these guys were in. That's one thing hackers don't want to do, is that they don't want to get caught. They do not want to get caught. So let's keep on going with this. And if you guys have any questions, and the link is dropped too, if you all want to come up. I'll be on for a little while longer, so feel free to come up if you have any commentary or have anything to say about this subject. Let's keep it going.
America's power grid is based on designs from
Absolutely.
the late 1800s.
Malware as a service.
The goal was to provide electricity to as many people as possible at the lowest possible cost. The problem is, the original power grids were designed to meet the needs of the early 1900s. And although there have been incremental advances, these systems are outdated. America's power grid hasn't been updated since the 1960s. Americans consume about 5 to 6 times the amount of electricity as the average person. And the U.S. electric grid loses power 3 times more often today than in 1984.
This equipment was designed 30, 40, 50 years ago. It was designed to do specific things.
Oh my God, I had no idea he was in this video. This is my guy. His name is Joe Weiss. I've had several conversations with him, but he's like one of the pioneers in industrial cybersecurity. So yeah, man, good guy. But he's gonna talk about it a little bit more. Actually, we could pause here. You're welcome, PBO. Welcome to the chat.
I appreciate it, man. Thanks for having me. I just have one little pushback. You know me, I'm old.
Here we go.
I just think reputational risk really doesn't apply, man. I think we're just so numb to getting hacked. your credit card because you pay 30%, gonna just go and give you that little credit monitoring. They're gonna refund your money if you give a credit card. And a company you familiar with, Mandiant, I think they actually increased because they were transparent. They say we got hit. Here's the snort files. We're gonna help you. So for me, I just think reputational risk has shrunk down so much because people used to. I mean, I've been hacked by, not personally, but 4 times I get the letter. Here's a credit. DOD got hacked.
Yeah.
So for me, I think reputational risk is so small now, and people are so used to it. It's like, oh, my bank got hacked. Give me my money back. We're good. Peace out. Tighten up. So, I don't know.
I think that is true for like businesses like banks at times, but I mean, think about LastPass. There's so many people who have went away from password vaults as a result of LastPass because their reputation it said we're here to protect your passwords and your credentials, and we see that they've been hacked. I mean,
well, I think you're right, but I think LastPass is unique. They've been hacked like 4 times in the last 18 months, and you're supposed to be protected. So I think they're negligent. So I don't know if I would put them in the game. They are almost negligent now. Go ahead.
And I think that also with like the autonomous driving vehicles, right? With like Uber and everything, like they were pushing out that for a minute. Like you haven't heard a whole bunch about it as of late. I think they're still doing developments and things, but I'm sure that the system's cybersecurity controls and security defenses, that's probably part of the conversation with legalizing a lot of autonomous driving vehicles all around the United States. Like, if you can't keep these things secure, how can we approve legislation to put these things on the road with our children, with our families, with the elderly? So, you know, I think it still has a part to play, but I can also see your point too. Yeah.
No, I see. Now we can't say no cybersecurity. I just think but you're right. There's some things like I put that with planes, right? If a plane get hacked, then right, there's certain things at the top, right? So I think cybersecurity is paramount. But like the average business, and like I said, people get hacked. From that standpoint, but you're right. Airplanes, your favorite nuclear power plants. There's some things where you can't go, oh, my bad, we got hacked.
Right. And even as it concerns the business of that, right? It's like I remember a very large energy organization called Duke Energy. Have you heard of them before? So Duke had some regulatory issues, and they had to pay millions of dollars in fines because they didn't have certain security controls implemented in their environment. I think that's another thing that hits the bottom line to that business because their ability to operate is affected by that. So, I think that, just like you mentioned, a lot of critical infrastructure is really important, but more publicly or privately owned.
But
infrastructure.
And we talked about that. I actually did a stream on it. That's where you get into GRC, right? Because now you got to have governance because you're actually reporting to a state agency. HIPAA, FERPA, I do a lot of IRS stuff, critical infrastructure. Because TSA got Kaseya's, which they can't check PAGs, so I don't know how the hell they got pipelines. But
that was a whole thing. That was driving a whole bunch of business that we did. Because I'm in the ICS and OT cybersecurity, so oil and gas is right there within that wheelhouse. Those we were getting so many customers who were worried about that TSA guidance that came out as a result of the Colonial Pipeline. So that was really a big business driver of us. We're putting out proposals like crazy for a lot of that pipeline stuff. So but definitely. But go ahead.
And you mention it a lot of times is when you get those proposals and you give them to the agencies, cybersecurity people take your proposals and they're going to ask you security questions to make sure your large organization can comply with TSA, right? That's a whole different bag. And that's one thing I do is, and I'm sure you've been there where they have those proposals. You got to show up in person and we grill you.
Orals.
Orals. So I do that a lot of times. So I be whispering to the head guy, I be like, I asked about encryption, FIPS 140-2. They got that right. So I write up the questions. And so, but that's definitely another bag. And I'm going to let Keep It Techie join in because I be on my soapbox. Shout out to Keep It Techie.
Definitely. Welcome, Keep It Techie. I just want to say welcome, Keep It Techie. Welcome, Professor Blackhouse. Thank you for coming through to the panel. Thank y'all for coming through. I definitely appreciate y'all being here. But Keep It Techie, you got the floor. You got any chime in on any of this, the business of, or just tech in general, business of tech, business of cybersecurity, anything you got on that?
No, man, I think you hit a lot of things on the head. One thing I can add with that LastPass hack,
You did a
And I
video
know that
about that, a
ties
couple of
to
videos about that, right?
I just
Yep.
did they finally released what actually happened. So one of their engineers or lead engineers, his personal computer got hacked, which which was weird because you would think the company will provide them a computer that's totally separate from using your personal computer where you go to all your social media, go to your personal email or click on links and all that stuff. And so his personal computer got hacked, and that's how they actually got into the system. They got the keys they needed in order to get into the AWS system.
Yeah.
Right.
So wait, so LastPass was having their employees use personal computers in order to do company work?
That's what it seems like. That's what
crazy.
and I kind of wanted to hear your thoughts on it because it was
Man. That's a biggie. That's a biggie. We never do that. Like that's like something that's very like baseline cybersecurity, right? Separating personal machines from work stuff. But I know that some organizations do it because they don't have the fund, to save money, especially a lot of startups. So they'll pay for like your Gmail account. They'll pay for the whole Google suite of things, but you access all your company things through your personal computer. So yes, it can be definitely a money saver. Yeah, you definitely get dinged on that. Yeah,
I guess for me, like keep it techie. Shout out, I shared your video. It was excellent, by the way. Like you said, that's what I do for a living. There's no government compliance let you use your personal computer. So I think if he did that, he did that. And two is you don't save money when something like this. Now they about to get fined. They about to reach out to Gabe and pay the junior people $250 an hour to show up and the breach notifications when they come out. That's why I said a big dog. Man, senior guys be costing $500 an hour, man. That shit be crazy. So you at least gonna spend $50,000 for them to figure out what happened before you patch, train, all that other stuff.
Right.
Man. So it's crazy.
Definitely. Welcome, Kev Tech. And I see that Shane came in and Clay came in. So welcome to you all. Thank you for coming through. Get one of these. Thank you for coming through. But definitely want to say, that happens a lot of times. One of our main businesses is incident response retainers. And let me kind of break that down because we spoke about that a little bit. Incident response retainers are where large organizations like an Uber, like a Microsoft, like a Walmart or somebody, right? They will hire consulting firms to be able to have the cybersecurity resources to come in to address their incidents when they happen. It's almost like, hey, something happened, send the alarms, send the ambulances, send the people who know how to deal with this type of issue. And the thing about these retainers is that they have a yearly fee to them. They have a yearly fee. Organizations pay for a certain amount of hours to be able to get consultants, get people who know how to deal with these issues quickly, efficiently. And it not only deals with like the technical aspects of it, but it also deals with the communication. So it also deals with the communications to the like market or like communications for the organization. Also deals with the executive people. We give executive briefings, but also deals with that of what you're putting out on social media. And even to the point, like I was involved in a very large incident where we were able to do ransomware negotiation. So we were able to negotiate with the bad guys to try to get them to bring down the price of what they were requiring, because we have darknet presence, right? So we have security consultants and researchers who have relationships with the bad guys. It can get real movie-like, right? Real movie-like very quickly, but there's a lot of money involved in that. Let me
just add one piece to that, and Gabe's 100% right, but I think the piece that needs to be elaborated on, I work for a large state agency, so if China attacks every state, there's only so many resources you can get. That's why you do the retainer, right? So if Indiana, I worked at Indiana, I don't care, Department of Revenue, if we got hacked, every other state's going to be trying to get to the same 4 big companies. That's why you pay the retainer. So like JC said, he paid that to Johnny Cochran. So when he calls at 3 a.m., they're going to pick the phone up, right?
100%.
There's only so many resources for the top guys. So if you need them now, so if you're a big company and you get hacked, or like our governor was like, if something happened to our little state, we want to be first in line. So that's why you would pay a retainer.
100%.
So yeah, I'm just making sure I understand it, kind of for myself and the audience. So
Yeah.
the retainer is similar to like paying a retainer at a lawyer
Yeah.
in case
100%.
something happens.
No, in case, no, that's not a. That's so you can get
Win.
in front. Because
Okay.
it's win. It's gonna
Right.
happen. So that gets you front in the line, right? So
Yeah.
if everybody lines up, you can start bidding on lawyers and drive up the fee. But if I got them on retainer, I done paid my $40,000 or $50,000.
Right.
That just retains them. So as soon as they start working, they're gonna burn down that $50,000 probably in the weekend. I gotta start paying more
Quickly.
money. But that gets
And
you in front of the line because those resources are so slim
good.
at that level. You talking about Mandy, Price, Arthur Anderson, even though they got tens of thousands of people, if every state's trying to call the same firm, it's not going to be enough for those guys. So like you said,
100%.
you want to make sure you first in line.
And let me tell you what it also does.
Oh, my bad.
I was gonna say, let me tell you what it also does. That concerns not only being first in line and having priority, but it also you get a lesser rate per
Right.
consultant, per person that you're bringing in if you are paying for the retainer up front. If you're coming just off the street, like, yo, my little hospital system got hacked, you get the listen, you get maybe $500-$600 an hour.
No, Dave,
Right.
you wrong. The reason I say you wrong is you're gonna start a bidding war. If everybody next to you like, oh, I could charge $1,000 an hour because I got 20 companies lining up. That's
Yep.
what our CEO was running, right? So think if you got 20 companies, you like, well, hell, who the highest bidder? So now you're going from 500 to 1,000.
Yeah.
So go ahead, Gabe. So,
So
that's how
bring-
we thought
that
about
brings
it.
up- yeah,
Go
that
ahead,
brings
keep
up
it.
another question that I was thinking. So, because you know that a lot of these companies have to have insurance or in case they get hacked,
Yeah.
like ransomware and all that stuff, or insurance. And
Yep.
so I wonder if they get better rates on the insurance by having one of these companies retain. I guess that's my question.
I think for a lot of organizations, that is part
Mhm.
of what their insurance is that they have a
Okay.
retainer, right? Because
Okay.
if they don't have a retainer, the insurance company is going to have to come out of more money.
Right.
So,
Gotcha.
But because I wasn't in the negotiation, but I saw what the insurance company said. What was interesting of the insurance company is, Gabe, no, this is you got to see your system security program because they got to judge how weak you are, right?
Yeah.
So the Kia car is getting stolen, right? So they're going to be higher premium. So they want to make sure you got MFA, endpoint insurance, endpoint encryption. So they're going to go through your whole system security. So if anything's missing, they be like, we're going to charge you more. Sometimes they might like, we're not going to insure you because you're not mature enough for us to secure. And we know you're going to get hacked.
And it's the same way with like car insurance, right? You think about car insurance, if you live in a area code, right, where it might be a little sketchy, right?
Right.
It might be a higher chance for your vehicle to get stolen. If you have a higher chance for your computer systems and digital infrastructure to be hacked, that drives up the rate. That drives up the rate automatically. So it's very similar. And cybersecurity insurance is actually an emerging market, right? Where insurance companies will pay organizations to respond to incidents for companies that they are insured with. So it is definitely an emerging market.
But they've been struggling a little bit lately, right? Because I think some of the payouts were bigger. I think they're still struggling on how to price it.
Yeah.
Because you got to look at, once again, your security program, what industry you in. More industries are more prone to get attacked than others. And two is that's when you, like you said, is because that's really how I got my job. South Carolina got hacked. So all the Department of Revenues tripled their budget, right? So
see it.
so
and that was part of the conversation.
Yeah,
for some of the people that just are coming in, we are talking about cybersecurity and the business of cybersecurity. And one thing that I had started off by saying is that one thing that really drives a lot of business within the field is hacks. Is when the bad guys are doing. I'm employed because the bad guys are doing what the bad guys are doing. I'm employed because the bad guys are hacking all these systems. So, I think that's one of the biggest drivers. So right now we're talking about incidents, incident response retainers, cybersecurity insurance, kind of all of the above, because a lot of that drives the business within cybersecurity.
And I think, like you said, that's the hidden part. I'm in GRC and I'm old, so I get to sit in the meetings with the CIO and legal staff. Normal technical people don't talk about insurance and programs and ransomware. Right now, you're talking about C-suite stuff, right? You're talking about your top consultants and top security guys that sits in those meetings. So I've been in those meetings, and you're like, How do you secure it? Oh, legal, what's your input on that? Right. And I think that's more of a, I want to say GRC, CISO level type security that a lot of people don't even very rarely bring up. Like you said, the business of security.
Yeah. And then Clay is mentioning, hey, how do you even begin to put a price on something when you are at the mercy of the wrongdoers, right? That's why you got to bring in the experts. That's why I said, like, sometimes if you're doing ransomware negotiation, the ransomware negotiations know what the bad going rates are. And they'll be like, listen, this is what you'll probably be able to get. Like, why are you just kind of going crazy? Right? It's a negotiation here, right? It's some give, it's some take. It's kind of crazy, but go ahead.
The other weird thing, I did a video on that, is the bad guys was actually hooking up with people inside the company, figuring out what the minimum amount the insurance was, so they know what to ask for, right?
Right.
They don't have to charge. But to that question right there, any security program is going to value your asset.
Right.
I know what this server worth. I know from IRS, they charge $1,000 a record. So if I got 34 million records, that's going to be worth $3.4 billion, right?
Right.
I haven't gave credit monitoring. I ain't called Gabe out. They charging $500.
Yeah.
So most big companies know what that dollar amount is at a high level, right?
Yeah.
Because once again, I work for the large state. We got to report that to the governor because he wants to understand your risk in each agency and organization, right? So that's when you talk about GRC. That's when you figure out those numbers. SLE, standard loss, annualized loss, right? They actually got calculations for that. I'm studying for the CISSP. It's not going well, so that's why I know all those right now. But now, go ahead, Gabe. But as a big company is going to know those individuals, because if my data and my computer is worth $10,000, I'm not going to put $100,000 worth of security, right? So you need to understand that from business risk, so you can tell your consultants what you want to pay, how you want to pay it, and what you need to set up, because money's not infinite.
And as Wire Dog is saying here, bad guys, their overall goal, I was mentioning the attack life cycle. Many times that overall goal is to get paid. So, like he says, bad guys want to get paid. Most will probably have to negotiate a good payout, a win-win type of. They're looking for a win-win type of situation, because that's the highest motivation to a lot of these type of hacks, is a financial gain.
Right, but two is nation states, right? They trying to steal your plans from your Boeing 747, right? So certain bad guys, right? They trying to steal intellectual property, right? So
it can get pretty sinister, pretty fast.
It's different levels to this.
Yeah. And Chief of Nades, welcome to the chat. Wire Dog says, not to mention that bad guys started doing double extortion tactics to get more leverage for themselves. So they'll go in and they'll come back in, and that's again what we're talking about, them establishing backdoors to be able to get back in to do bad things. So it can get real fuzzy real quick, real kind of messed up very quick. So, but these are a couple of things that I mentioned. But go ahead, keep it tech, and I'll go right after you.
No, I was just gonna say, and that's exactly what happened with LastPass or HackPass, what Kev said in the chat. But the guys got in and they did reconnaissance, and they sat there for months, getting the data out, extracting the data out, as well as just figuring out a way to try to decrypt the data. But go ahead, Gabe. What you said, I just wanted to add to that.
So we've talked about a couple of things here. We've talked about that of incidents. That's the big financial driver of organizations, right? When a company gets hacked, a lot of times they're hiring on more cybersecurity people. They're looking at these incident response retainers. They're also bringing in cybersecurity insurance organizations to pay for a lot of these costs. Another one that we mentioned, and one that you all will probably be able to chime in a lot on, is that of government compliance and government regulations. I know PBO, you mentioned GRC, but many of you have been in that defense contracting type of work. Tell me a little bit more about that, and how is that structured? It's like just budgets come out, it's voted upon, it comes out, and that money is there and ready and available to employ tech professionals like yourselves. How does that kind of work?
I'll go first. Once again, when I was at DOD, it's kind of like anything. Usually they have a program or something they want to do. We were trying to do a general ledger. So they say to do a general ledger is going to cost X. We need this many consultants. It's called a clean. So your cybersecurity manager is $400 an hour. Your junior guy is $75, right? Because remember, we're paying that to consultant companies, so they don't break a piece off and send their people out, right? So we budget, and they call them clean for each line item. But real quick, somebody in the chat wrote, and Biden actually put that out. Biden
What's
says
that?
you should not pay ransomware out. They're actually trying to put a government regulation saying you cannot pay ransomware without going through the Biden administration
Oh
first.
wow.
So
The-
similar
the-
to not we don't negotiate with terrorists.
Yeah, but the problem is when I used to teach, I used to ask my classes, if you're the CEO of a hospital and you can't take patients, are you going to pay the money or not? Right? I got people dying. I got a board of directors I have to report to. Right? So this is affecting our bottom line because Equifax got hacked. They lost half their stock value. So it's easy to say not to pay hackers, but I'm losing. I got patients not making my stock price in half. So how the government gonna tell me how to run my business?
Right.
But theoretically,
Right.
if you didn't pay 20 of them, maybe will they go away? Right. So that's the thought pattern. Right. But so that's always an issue in there. But now back to the original question is you do a project, you have budgets, they were called clean. Long story short, I got cool with this guy. I thought I was making money till I saw what the government was paying the contractor to come in. I'm like, this
That's
is
what I was
12
gonna get
years. I'm just
into.
gonna call it 12 years.
Okay.
The white dude told me, cool, dude, I'm gonna bring him. He goes, dude, they not even paying you half the bill rate. I go, what? I saw the bill rate. I like, oh, they done got a brother. I done learned today. So I tell people I need 80% of that clean, homie. Right. So,
Yeah.
right. But,
Yeah.
Nah, I'm gonna throw it to you, keep it techy.
No, I was just gonna add to the question as well. Yeah, essentially, I mean, you spot on, Professor Blackhouse with, it's basically a clean. They put out a project, come up with the numbers for it. You know what I'm saying? They do the research, come up with the numbers for it, and then put it out there in a bid process. And if you qualify, you can bid on that contract. And it also depends on what all entails the project. You know what I'm saying? It could be, multiple projects within that client. And for multiple different things. So it could be setting up SQL servers, as well as some cybersecurity, infrastructure setup as well within that single client. And then they put it out, people bid on it, and then whoever wins, it's a short process, but not short, but it's a step process. And then whoever wins, they have stipulations on those companies as well. Like you have to subcontract some of this work out. It's stipulated, within the contract. And then, just like what PBO said, this is what I was going to get to. They pay their employees based on what they want to pay them. But yeah, if you see the numbers that the government is putting in those contracts, it'll blow your mind. Yeah. Like I think I told this story one time before. Like I was working like one of my highest contracts was $250,000 a year.
Wow.
But I looked at the actual position, it's $500,000.
Wow.
$550,000 for that one position. So yeah, I was only getting half, So
talk about the go ahead.
I got a super quick story, like keep it techie. We were on this big project and they were cutting the budget in half. It was an Oracle consultant. Shout out to him, Jim Sirikas, this Greek guy. He came into the project and just calmly said, he goes, I like y'all guys. I'm tired of being here. My bill rate is $600 an hour. I go, your bill rate is what? He goes, I'm going to leave and all y'all little guys can stay. I was like,
wow.
And I looked at it, but he was one of the top guys in the Midwest. What he was doing at Oracle had never been done. He was doing clusters in 1992, but his bill rate was so they were paying $1.2 million for one guy.
See, and that's so interesting because a lot of what you all are talking about is like infrastructure type of support work, like whether it's in databases, whether it's Oracle. And a lot of times in cybersecurity, many times we only had this conversation about penetration testing, hacking, ethical hacker, when a lot of it is hardening systems, securing systems, implementing security controls, maintaining government infrastructure in a secure manner. You don't get that from just learning how to use Kali Linux. You get that by understanding systems, network administration, database administration, application security. Those are some of those skills that pay many more of the bills in cybersecurity and also within government infrastructure.
Yeah, but you got me antsy because you missing out the part you do. The program managers, they run all the numbers before they even start hiring those guys. And those are guys, shout out to Black Heights, those are guys that make the big money. I
Yeah.
report to the program manager. You go like, yeah, I got 5 of you guys, and this the project, this the timeline, this is what's waiting on each other, right? So there's a whole program manager that does, because all of the things you name are requirements for your security program. So all that gets done before you hire the infrastructure guy and the database guy and the DBA and even cybersecurity. So you get the whole program managers working all that, and those guys be making $1 million too for the big 4. Like I said, I seen those guys $600 an hour, $500 an hour, and if they pay it like it's nothing, I'm confused. I'm like, what?
Right.
I thought I was making some money, but especially those big government contracts. We joked one day because we were like, dude, we got 100 people on this Zoom call. We burning about $10,000 an hour, easily. So the stuff we arguing about, 10,000, we don't waste that talking about it.
100%. And I think that's where we need to have more of these type of conversations about, hey, what are the skills and the capabilities that are really paying out here, that are really lending people to having long, valuable careers in the field. So I think that another one, I know we mentioned that of incident response, right? I know we were also just talking about defense contracting, but I think another one is that of sales. I know Black Height speaks about tech sales all the time. I mean, think about how much commission in sales you get from selling, I don't know, some type of multi-year Azure deployment, cloud Azure deployment for a large organization. I mean, you're paying yourselves year over year over year just in being able to sell large software, right? Or even service contracts too, right? So there are so many things in tech sales and cybersecurity sales that can also benefit you. Because I think somebody told me, my director several years ago, he told me, hey, the closer you are to the money, the closer you will be to the money. So I'm like, okay, that make a lot of sense. But what do you all think about tech sales?
I tell you, the thing that pissed me off about tech sales, and I have guys take me to big dinners, is because a lot of people.
I gotta run.
Okay,
all right, man. Come back whenever you feel like it.
No, you good.
Yeah. All right, peace. So thanks for being here, man.
One of the things I do while reviewing RP, my job is to help the company gets in with tech sales. I'm like, dude, y'all owe me a commission, right? Because I'm checking your security. I'm checking the InfoBand from an Oracle database, right? So now security is actually a part of sales. So I've actually been thinking about going in there, because when you go for a DoD or large organization, they're like, are you FIPS compliant? Are you NIST compliant? Are you FISBA compliant? So you got to check all those boxes so your software can get in for sale. Are you FedRAMP if you're running some SaaS in the cloud, or you got some product, right? So security now is a huge, because most times when you're that big, you're complying to some organization, GRC.
Yeah, 100%. I see Arctic. Yeah, welcome to the chat. You said I saw something funny for an ad on that would give you a total hourly rate for meeting on Reddit. It gave the total and an option just in the email instead. That's a little bit
that's
a little bit different.
That's
all right. Yeah. Thanks for being here. I was reading. I was thinking it was something. Yeah, take care. Keep it techie. Yeah. Keep it techie. Thank you for coming through, man. Definitely thank you for coming through, and come back anytime you feel like it, for sure. So like, okay, incident response stuff. Talk about government regulations, sales. The only thing about sales, and I'm not saying that it's bad, is that sometimes it can be up and down. It's not always that predictable unless you work for a very large organization, unless you've had a lot of years within the industry. But some people, right, they can make 200, 250, 300,000 one year, but the next year might be at 100, 150. Just depends on if those organizations' budgets are open or closed.
The weird thing about that, it's not weird, is because I know a lot of sales guys is they've been selling at a certain state or region, so now they can just walk into people's office because they're known quality. They switch companies and they're like, oh, come on in, let's go to lunch, right? And two is, and you see this, big companies for DoD, that's why you hire 3-star generals, because they can just walk in people's office and figure out what's going on. Right. So that's one thing that kind of perplexed me. I'm like, why are all these damn generals walking around? Because even though they're ex-generals, they know guys and they can walk in people's office and they tell them, this is the projects, what's going on, this is what we buying. And at minimum, they're going to give them an opportunity to bid. I went to 100%. Work for, I forgot one big company. I'll think of the name of it. I walked into this big office. I think it's going to be a bunch of programmers. He goes, oh, no, we're a prime bid. We sub that out to the little guys. Because to bid on $100 million DoD project, you got to be a nationwide company with a certain level of cyber insurance that's like $50 million. So the average company can't do it. So they're like, oh, no, we don't do the little work. We sub that out.
So that's a biggie. That's a biggie. And Gonzo saying that they're too shy to be in tech sales.
It's
you can build on some of those capabilities for sure. In sales, you need good customer service skills. And, but kind of wanted to speak of too is that there's not only just sales who are just right there in front of the customers, but there's pre-sales and post-sales engineers, right? You don't always necessarily security is in there now, so you don't always necessarily have to be right there in front of the customer, but you can also be in pre-sales or I forget which one, pre-sales or post-sales, where you're more technical in your capability. You might be going and doing demonstrations. You might be going in, or they might just be bringing you in to be the subject matter expert to do the demonstration to explain what the technology is. Or you might be the one to go in there and to actually deploy the technology in their environment and show them and ingest data and show them exactly how it works. So you don't necessarily always have to be the person that says, so this is the sale and everything and closing the sales. You might just be the subject matter expert, the technical person to come in to be able to really sway the person or sway the customer towards buying that particular product or service.
Because I was on a project, we spent $80 million for a piece of software. So we spent $80 million. You got to come in with a proof of concept, right? You got to set up this proof of concept. We want to do a performance test, right, of that feature. And once we like it too, is your post engineer, we want you to set up that. Because a lot of times you see pre-sales, then they go away. You're like, well, you got to pay extra for that. Nah, man, we just pay $80 million. We want what we wanted, right? So that's where you have your pre and your post sales come up.
Absolutely. And John Good, thank you, and welcome for coming through. And a couple of people have come through the time. I want to give you all a hand clap for just even being here. Thank you for coming through. And he gives a little bit of clarification here that pre-sales is more about selling, the post-sales is more about implementation. Absolutely. And even in the pre-sales process, you might just be very specific to what you're selling, the technical aspects of that. You might not necessarily be the person that has that has developed the relationship over all the years. You might not be the person that's schmoozing and giving all taking the customer out for drinks or anything. You might be the individual that comes in and give the presentation about the technology that you all are selling. And that implementation, like I mentioned, you might be there on site, wiring things up and showing the engineers and really just being in contact with the engineers and the technicians that might use it on a daily basis. So
because for big companies, you got to do oral. So you're going to need a technical guy because we grilling you in order. So if you bring a weak guy, I'm going to run over him. I promise you.
And John says sales is a different skill set. And if you don't like trying to convince people, it's probably not a good area for you. He said he did B2B, so business to business sales for a while before getting into cyber. Okay, definitely but, some experience there.
But the weird thing though is I've seen a lot is, and me and kind of Black Heights got in a discussion of this, AWS, GCP, and Azure, if you're not spending more than $5 million, you just got to go to the self-serve portal. You ain't worth talking to, right? So they're bringing those numbers up because you can just spin up your own stuff. We're not giving you any discount. You just need to go out there and set up your stuff, right? So now sales are getting a little harder because for those software as a service and Azure stuff, they got all self-service concept.
100%. And even here, WireDog has mentioned, he says he got hit up by Tenable. Tenable are the creators of Nessus, which is probably the most popular vulnerability scanner out there. Even the government has a version of it. What is it called? ACAS or something? Yeah. Do you guys have it? Okay. Tenable about doing a job like that. So like the SME for the product to assist the salesperson. Yeah. And that's a lot of times in a lot of these tech product organizations. I used to work for a consulting firm called Mandiant, but on the other side at that time, it used to be FireEye. And FireEye has a plethora of products. And now I think FireEye combined with McAfee or somebody, and now they're Trellix. So anyway, there are a lot of these cybersecurity products companies where they do have these SMEs or these subject matter experts within their sales organization. It's to say that, hey, not only do we have the salespeople that can drive the sales, but also the subject matter experts, the technical people who know how to touch this technology, to explain all the inner workings to your tech people who'll be using it on a day-to-day basis. And again, that's closer to the business of cybersecurity, right? These tools are used in order to accomplish a certain cybersecurity need within companies. That is very important. That's not always talked about. I think it's starting to get talked about more and more. I'm starting to hear more and more about it, but it's not always the penetration testing. It's not always the TryHackMe platforms. Like, how do you train and learn sales capabilities with this cybersecurity? Like, I don't see a whole lot of platforms out there for that.
Yeah, but don't you think that's higher up on the curve though? Usually when you get a
can
sales spec for a technical company, they at least you want you. Most sales guy technical did that some technical stuff before they got into sales a lot of times. Unless you're a 4-star general, right? You get just walking people's office.
Right.
So I see a lot of tech guys I work with because they're trying to sell us, like you said, Azure, AWS, Salesforce guys come out. Like I said, I talked to all those guys. Been selling for other companies, Oracle, Microsoft, right? So now they want to get into bigger sales, which is the cloud.
That's another thing, right? Sales. I think sales is very similar to how cybersecurity is. Sales, you can go from industry to industry to industry and still be successful with just sales abilities, right? You can go from consulting to a tech products organization. You can sell insurances. You can sell, I don't know, healthcare software. You name it. You can sell in so many different industries. Same thing as cybersecurity. You could be a cybersecurity engineer for a products organization, for a healthcare organization, for a utilities organization. So, I think that's one of those transferable skills to a lot of the different industries out there. So, that's very important. Like, everybody trying to sell something all the time.
Let me get a piece of Kev Tech the guys I helped, it was $1 million product. They left and went to a different company. He actually took me out for my first Kobe beef steak. It was $150 for 12 ounces, right? Yeah. My bill with drinks was like $300. So, shout out to sales people that they do have great restaurants and tickets. Shout out to those guys.
The sales guys got the bag, and they'll definitely hook up their customers, right? They typically have a budget or something. Right?
It's entertainment.
But sales folk, a lot of times they have a company card with a budget on it. And it just says like, hey, you can spend that on the customer in order to help to drive the sales, drive the revenue of the company. So
it's got a little better. I'm a little older. You're in the 80s. They used to do 3 martinis at night talking about sales because you were going to take them to dinner that night. And if they're big enough, the CEO coming too.
Yeah. I remember it was actually last year I was in so consulting firms a lot of times have partnerships with larger or different type of organizations. And I know that we had one customer or one organization that was trying to partner with us, and they took us out to Topgolf. And it was pretty much like appetizers and food and drinks all day. Like, we was there for like 4 or 5 hours, and the food just kept on coming, the drinks just kept on coming. I'm like, yo, like, I want to go home. And they're like, no, we gonna chill until we get a final decision here. So, it was just interesting until
I started a small consulting company, didn't go anywhere, but a couple of my partners used to work for Vax. It's an IBM Light. That's why you got to learn how to golf, because you out there for 4 hours. So that's how you can talk to people and get to know. So that's why I took a whole bunch of golf lessons. So that's the old school. They don't do that much anymore, but it used to be 4 hours on a golf course.
I am an amateur. I'm an amateur at golfing.
He had a private membership. So we were in Ohio. It looked like a barn. It was actually a pro PGA golf course we were playing on. It was crazy. I hit the ball. The caddy ran in the woods to get the ball. Wow. But that's old school. But they do have an entertainment bill because they want to take you to lunch and all the sort of thing. That's part of whining and dining people.
Yep. Because it helps to drive that sale. It helps to kind of soften the ground.
The sad part is the customer know it. If you don't do it, they feel insulted. They expect you to take the dinner and the wives. The wives are gonna talk and stuff.
Sports games and everything. Yeah.
Oh, facts, man.
So John here says, yep, some sales engineers focus on specific products and some focus on specific verticals like government or healthcare. Absolutely. 100%. Clay said it would seem that one would have to be truly familiar with that stuff in order to sell it. Not necessarily. No, not necessarily. Right? They have like these things called like primers, like one-page primers that a lot of these sales folks would just read and gain and kind of they learn the buzzwords a lot of the time. Sales folk learn those buzzwords and they'll go to conferences and things and kind of act like they have a good understanding, but because there are very technical people that work for their organization, they utilize those people. They'll bring those people in meetings and say, hey, this person has done this, or this person has helped to develop this product or done this. So if you have more technical and deeper questions for this person, then feel free. They're at your service. So
I used to work for a Fortune 500 pharmaceutical company.
Okay.
Their pharmaceutical sales team, I got to word this right, they had the most beautiful women on the planet because those guys already knew what they were going to order. They ordered the same shit for 10 years, but they wanted to be taken out to a nice dinner and talked to nice. So they had beautiful, because most people in that, they know what type of Oracle database they want. They know what type of, because that's all they ran. So those guys knew what they were going to order. So now in the old days, you couldn't go on the AWS and Azure and spin it up. You had to talk to people and get servers and instances. Then they used to have the baddest women on the planet rolling up in there. And I used to look at the guy, I'm like, yeah, he know what he gonna order. Her job is to make him order all of it.
Listen, I'm telling you. So those are some things that we were talking about. I know last time we were talking about like the physical security assessments. A lot of times women can be very successful in that field of social engineering and physical security, because they can get into environments because they have like a embedded trust, right? There's an embedded trust that people's guards aren't so high up for ladies. And I think the same thing in sales. There are many very what people would think of as aesthetically pleasing looking ladies and young typically too, right? You know how to wine and dine, right? So you know they can be very successful in the field of tech sales. So you know, I mean, shoot, if you got to use it, I say, of course, right? You use have your standards. Don't go past those standards. But you know, I mean, hey, you can be very successful. That's a part of the whole business. Is that, hey, let's see what this person's persuasion is, and let's go ahead and move.
And I think
like that.
And Kev Tech said it on his. Most time they have a list of products they can buy. They can't buy anything off the list. So half the time they knew what they wanted. So they trying to get bulk stuff. So once again, they had beautiful people. Like I said, I interviewed a guy. I teased him. We went to the restaurant. They wouldn't let me in. He come in 6'2", looking cute. They let him in. I was mad. But,
man, it'd be like that.
That's the beauty. I tell people that's the beautiful people world, man. I stay out of that world. Man.
And just like Kev Tech says, some companies that you work with have bulk laptop purchases, that give you discounts, invite you, right? It's all to soften that sales, that sales thing. And Arctic says, if you're uncomfortable convincing people, it can be easier if you find a product you really like and believe in the quality of. So experiencing using them is a plus. Absolutely. And they'll send you all types of prototypes and newer devices and things. And Wayne is just like, he know what that's about.
Don't tell Arctic, don't overthink it, man. People sell stuff they don't like every day.
True. But with that said, as Professor Black Ops know all the time, I always I wouldn't say I'm rushing to the end, but I definitely have some things to get to. But thank you for coming through, Professor Black Ops. Thank you for being here. I definitely appreciate it. And for all of you being here, I definitely appreciate you all being here. We were talking about some things about the business of cybersecurity. We talked about incident response. When the bad guys do the hacking, a lot of times that opens up the budgets and opens up the wallets of the CISOs, the CIOs, and the CEOs of company. Another thing that happens is the government regulation and compliance. So governance, regulations, and compliance. So GRC, a lot of that has a lot of budget already associated with it. It's already been voted on. It's already been brought into people's budgets. So many people bid on that type of stuff. And a lot of that work looks like defense work, looks like defending systems or hardening systems or maintaining government systems. That's where a lot of the money is. It's not always penetration testing. It's not always ethical hacking. Right. And another one that we just talked about was tech sales. Tech sales is another one that drives a lot of business of the entirety of the cybersecurity industry products. Right. You think about Splunk. There's tech sales people for Splunk, tech sales people for like Cisco devices, like firewalls. There's tech sales people for endpoint detection and SOAR, right? Security or orchestration and readiness or whatever it's called, or response. So I like to say all that to say thank you all for being here. PBO, do you have anything to say before we finish out here?
No, just real quick, like you said, there's the security domain is just so big. This is one type. There's a lot of ways to get in this industry, a lot of ways to get to the bag, and this is definitely a great channel to make that happen. That's all I got, man. I know you gotta get to the baby, man. Shout out to the baby.
Get to the baby.
Shout out to the baby.
Gym. Listen, I'm about to go into that gym too, man. I really gotta staying in that gym, man. I've been going every single day. I've been going every single
with you, day. Man. I'm old, man. In the 50s, I'm getting fat, man. I look like a broke Rick Ross, man. I gotta get in the gym.
Listen. That gym ain't going nowhere, man. It's there for all of us, man.
Facts,
so, all right. Well, thank you all for being here, and see you all later. Where this is Struggle Security. We are normalizing struggling in cybersecurity. All right, peace out, everybody. All right, man.